All right, for today, you guys are going to be exploring Underglaze, trying out the techniques of Sgraffito and masking. These are the different supplies that you're going to need. Most of them are in a bin, but just so you guys are kind of aware what you're looking for. So go grab a bin, grab a cup of Underglaze for your table, orange and black, or whatever color is available, and then make sure you grab 2 pieces of clay, 1 clean and 1 with Underglaze. Make sure that you guys have your sketches done by the end of today, so that way you know what to do. So remember, we're exploring Sgraffito, which is line-based, and masking that is shape-based. So grab your Sgraffito piece with the Underglaze already applied, so you can explore this.
Okay, so starting with the one with the black. Okay, I'm gonna take this loop tool and I'm basically just carving away just enough so that way I end up taking away that top layer. Yep, whatever you want. So like I might think about my design, like this one, like, okay, I might think about like, okay, how would I do kind of that little shape there? And I will say it's a little on the soft side. It's a little bit easier if it's a little bit drier for like fine details, but you can do each one. So try doing like hatching marks. You could do like full shapes carved away. Now, when it would get a little bit drier, right now it's a little bit sticky. When it'd be a little bit drier, I would kind of brush away the little burrs so that way the texture isn't an issue. Because the texture will stay if you don't brush it away. But if it's sticky, it's just going to smear everywhere. Okay, so just try it out. See how it goes. So try different types of marks. So like if I was doing like a water texture in my design, what would that look like? Okay, maybe I want to do this like background kind of carved type of texture, so a little bit of black is there. Okay, so again, just kind of thinking about like what would that look like. It's a very line based, very drawing like.
All right, once you're done with your Sgraffito exploration tile, take a photo and add it to your portfolio. Your test tile can just get thrown in the garbage can, not the scrap bucket. So now we're going to move on to masking. We're going to start off by layering our lighter color and then adding our darker color over the top. If you have not grabbed scissors, grab scissors. Also grab newsprint, which is on the side table by the tool cart, and grab your smooth tile. We have 2 different brands of Underglaze are located towards the back of the room. There is this Amico style and then also the brand of Mako. When you apply it to your clay, if it has clear glaze later on, it'll be deeper in color, and without clear glaze, it's lighter in color. The top is 1 coat, the middle is 2 coats, and the bottom third is 3 coats. So notice that it gets more opaque as you add coats.
All right, now if you're still playing with Sgraffito, that's fine. I'm just gonna kind of start talking about masking a little bit. So Sgraffito is very line-based, right? So I had traced my design, painted on the underglaze, and I had scratched it away. Now, masking is very, very different. I cannot stress how smooth the surface of your plate needs to be when doing this technique, because otherwise it's not going to turn out well at all. It's important for Sgraffito as well, but especially with masking, okay? Because you're laying down basically cut out shapes of this so you can lay it on and block the color as you brush it on, okay? All right, so Sgraffito. Masking, we're going to take this smooth piece right here. Okay, and we are going to cut out different shapes. So this is going to be my recommendation, is when you take your piece of newsprint, I would try like thick lines, I would try maybe some thin lines, I would cut out shapes, keep the positive shape and keep the negative shape. So what do I mean by that? So I might take my scissors and I might cut just some simple stripes. Okay, because that could create some interesting lines in my design. So thinking very simple kind of shapes, a little bit on the abstract side. I can also go and tear my paper. The difference between the torn paper is I get a little bit more of a natural edge. Okay, so like when I was doing like a water texture, I really preferred this look because it looked more like water. It wasn't so crisp. Okay, so I get a little bit more variation, even like small pieces like that could be kind of nice. So just tearing a few. So I've got really crisp lines and I've got more natural edge lines. Just kind of pushing those off to the side. After that, I'm going to cut some just little squares for myself. But it's not to cut a square per se. I'm going to cut out another shape. Okay, so like if I was doing my like pangolin shape, I'm gonna cut a very careful type of like simple pangolin armor tile. But I mean careful to cut it because I want to keep, someone got glue on my scissors. Okay, so I want to keep this shape and I want to keep this shape. Sorry, my scissors are very sticky because someone cut something sticky with my scissors. Okay, so I'm gonna do that with a few different ones. So I'm saving the negative and I'm saving the positive. I could cut out multiples by folding it in half, laying them on top of each other. So I'm just gonna do some like simple circles for now. Okay, so don't feel like it has to be super detailed. The idea is that you're just kind of getting a feel for the techniques. So again, I've got some negatives and some positive shape saved up. Okay. So if you remember, I said there is like a level 2 in there. Sorry, there's like a level 2, 3, and 4 for this technique. So like a level 2 would be just like one layer of underglaze, just using the masking. Level 3 would be maybe 2 layers, and then a level 4 would be 3. So like a level 3 would be everything except this little like tongue shape on top. All right. So for you guys, when you eventually start your project, the underglaze bottles are going to look kind of like this. So these are the Makos, and then the Amicos are just a little bit wider. So you would end up kind of making sure the cap is on tight. When you use these, put your finger on top and shake it. Okay, so instead of stirring it, you just shake it up when it's in the bottle. Okay, when you start using it with your actual project too, you'll be able to pour a little bit on. Just so you guys know, okay, a bottle of this one is about $20. The Amicos are about $27 right now. Okay, so when I say use a little bit, like use a little bit, you can always mix more. Okay, if you're using just straight orange and you're not going to alter it, okay, just go straight out of the bottle. It's fine. Okay, doesn't make sense to pour it out, not use it, and throw it away. Okay, all right, so some other things. Which color do you think is stronger between my two that I have, orange or black? Okay, black is the stronger color. So I would probably not want to put one of my warm, weaker colors over the top. So I'm probably going to want to start with my warmer, weaker colors, with the exception of white. White is pretty opaque because it has what's called an opacifier in it, so it tends to cover pretty well. Okay, that's my like one exception. But like yellow and orange, red to some extent, layering them on top of like a really dark color is going to make it a lot duller. Okay, just like putting blue over yellow is going to end up making it look a little bit green where they overlap. Okay, so I'm going to start with my orange. So for that, I'm going to need my cup of water. I'm going to need my sponge. Okay, so I'm just going to throw that in. I'm going to kind of move these off to the side. I don't need my Sgraffito tool anymore. All right, and just so you guys know, like professional ceramicists do this all the time. They've got little test tiles like these, like all over their studios. They have them in drawers, they have them hanging on walls, because again, you don't really know. Even like painters will have like charts of what their colors look like so they know how they consistently mix, so they don't have to sit and guess and hope. They can just kind of look at the chart and go, oh yeah, that's, yeah. Like they still kind of know, but just to double check. That's pretty typical. But with especially underglaze and glazes, like they fire different. So it's a little eye trickery. All right, so with masking, like I said, really important, it's super smooth, okay? So there's two different ways you can apply your newsprint. Now just setting it on, it's not gonna stick. If you try to brush it, it's gonna move on you, okay? So I'm gonna start with some positive shapes, okay? So either like some cutouts like this that I have or some of my strips of paper that I've torn, okay? I like doing these for kind of my background. So I've done that with the tongue shape here, and then I also had done that with these little shapes. So in theory, like if I was making a plate right now, I could paint like the whole thing orange, let that dry, and then block off with my positive shapes, okay? And I would still get nice contrast. So there's two different ways to apply the newsprint. So I could lay this on here, take my sponge, okay? I don't want it sopping wet, but I could kind of wet it from the middle and kind of work my way across. Okay, so that's one way that you can apply it. Now, for really detailed edges or shapes, that's how I prefer to do it, because then I have control of how much water, especially when I get to layer 2 or 3 with like my next colors. That's how I prefer to apply it, because I don't want to mess up the color underneath. Okay, the second way to apply, especially if it's right on the clay like this and no color's been painted on, I can dip it right in the water. Okay, kind of like if you've ever done paper mache, kind of scrape off the extra water. Okay, and I can just lay it on and then smooth it out from the middle and out so I don't have any bubbles. So those are just two different ways that you can apply. Okay, so I get really lazy with these first ones and I just kind of dip it in the water. The nice thing about letting it hang off the edge, it looks like the composition continues and it's easier to take it off of your form. So like these little shapes, if I put it directly in the middle, it's a little harder to take off. It's doable, that's what needle tools are for, but just something to consider. Now I accidentally got a little bit of water on here, so I'm gonna take my thirsty sponge and just try to get some of that extra water. So again, why I'd be more cautious if this was something that had underglaze painted on already, because I wouldn't wanna smear that color. Yeah, absolutely. Try it out. Now, if you have a Cricut machine at home, if you have one or a family member, it'd probably be like a mom or a grandma, you can cut out your own shapes. Just ask me can I have some newsprint, and you could go home and go nuts with the Cricut machine if you think this is a cool technique, and then you don't have to hand cut everything. Use tools at your disposal if you have them. Like if you have them available, go nuts. So a lot of ceramic artists do that. They use Cricut machines to cut out either newsprint or vinyl to create their own masking shapes. So glow forges have been really handy for a lot of people for lots of different techniques as well. Just like 3D printers, you can print those and then make a two-part mold, and then you can easily turn that into clay by creating slip. Or like the little sprig mold like Trey was using in the video. Okay. All right, once you have your newsprint on, okay, I'm gonna take my lighter color. So in this case, I just put orange and black out for you guys. Now I do have, when you guys do actually choose your colors, I do have every color of the rainbow except violet, and then I've got brown, black, and white. Every time I buy a violet, it doesn't look violet, but what two colors make violet? Blue and red, okay? Every time I mix it, it looks great. If I buy it, it looks like blue, okay? All right, I'm gonna do a big all over. I'm gonna use one of these soft, fluffy brushes, okay? So I always like these kind of more natural hair brushes that are a little bit softer, because then I'm not gonna have as many lines, okay? So if I wanted it to be transparent, 1 coat. If I wanted it to be somewhat transparent, I would do 2 coats. If I want it more opaque, solid, bold color, I would do 3 coats. Never more than 3 coats. I promise you the glaze when you add it will look like horse crap after the fact. That's my like total blunt honesty with that. If you try to get like 10 layers of underglaze with 10 coats brushed on, it's gonna look terrible. It gets crusty, it gets weird, it's just not good, okay? So, no more than 3 coats per color. All right, so when I brush this on, I'm gonna be careful as I brush over initially, just to make sure it doesn't go underneath my shapes. Now I'm gonna just do all over. Would you have to go all over? No. Eventually when you guys do your plates, you could do like a orange and add white and do a gradation. So you've got lots of options here. When you would do Sgraffito, if that's what you choose to do, the brushing on is the same. You just wouldn't have the newsprint down. You just have your transferred design with your little line impressions. All right, so I'm just kind of brushing back and forth just to make sure that it's nice and even.
If you need a blow dryer, please go to this drawer in the back of the room. Open it up, you'll find a collection of blow dryers and hot glue guns, but only grab the blow dryer. 1 blow dryer per outlet, and try to keep it on low going in circles.
Okay? And then those little pieces can just get thrown in the trash.
When you're done with the brush, please bring it to the sink and use soap and water to wash your brush. Put soap in your non-dominant hand. Swirl around the brush in the soap to get that extra color out. Don't rinse in your cups that had water, but do it at the sink. Rinse out the soap. Be gentle with the bristles so that it keeps the brush shape. And then gently pat dry to dry off your brush so you can use again. Or if you're finished, you can put it bristles up back into your container.
All right, so again, these shapes I just did, where I laid down the positive and it printed the negative, that was like when I did these shapes, right? So that's how I got this gray everywhere, is because I was blocking those shapes and got the gray everywhere. So it kind of creates a nice all over color, but then you can get some really fun patterns that way. So that's what I did there. So the next layer will be like how I did this tongue, okay? And that'll be using the negatives to print a positive. That'll be our next step when you guys are done drying stuff. This until this is dry. Okay, if it's not dry, then it's going to be a mess. Okay, so now I'm going to take my positive shapes, okay, and I'm going to figure out kind of where they're going to go. That's one reason I like this technique, is it's got a little bit of a collage feel to it. So if I don't like it, I can just kind of move it around, especially if like drawing isn't something that you feel confident about. All right, I'm going to take the sponge to connect these. Okay, so I don't want it super wet because I don't want to smear my underglaze. Okay, so I'm going to kind of start from the middle and really go along that edge to make sure it's connected. So I don't want it super drippy. Okay, where the edges meet, I like to have those be nice and close, even overlap. But I don't want to have any air bubbles. It's really important not to have any air bubbles. So that's why I want to kind of go from the edges and kind of work my way out versus the outside of the shape. And we're only going to put underglaze inside those shapes. You wouldn't want this to be brushed all over. All right, so we're going to go in with our black, our stronger color. Now white would work for this too if we had white as an option. We're just going to use these two colors just to get the concept today. So orange doesn't get used as much, and this is my reject black. I don't like how runny it is, at least when it comes out of the bottle. Yours is a little bit thicker right now, but mine is kind of runny. All right, now I could either do like 2 coats of this. So like with my tongue, I think I had done 2 coats. So as you can see, you can kind of see the shapes through there. So you get a little bit of a transparency look to it. So that's kind of fun. So you could either use a bigger brush or a smaller brush. The smaller one's probably a little easier if you've got some smaller shapes. But I'm going to brush into the shape. I don't like to do just 1 coat. 1 coat's usually kind of streaky. But kind of brushing away from that edge as best I can. Okay. So I have to be a little bit more careful with the detail layers. Okay. All right, once you get at least 2 layers, okay, then you can start to pull them away. Okay, and it should look something like that. Okay, so when you guys do finish, take a picture